When the trooper responded to a call for help at a home in Velva in western North Dakota, Charles Rill was arguing with the victim.
When the officer tried to break it up, Rill is accused of tackling the officer to the ground, punching the trooper multiple times, wrestling his baton away, and then hitting him in the head with it. Police say that Rill also tried to grab the trooper's gun. Rill is now in jail in Rugby on $500,000 bond. Here's something that we don't hear about often. A 45-year-old man is now facing drunk driving charges after police say he totaled this combine in northwestern North Dakota. Take a look there. Michael Carr of Seattle was arrested yesterday when he rolled that large piece of farm machinery near Berthold.
Police say the combine has extensive damage. Carr was busted for DUI and driving with a revoked driver's license. Combines, as many of you know, are one of the most expensive pieces of farm equipment. New ones can cost up to $500,000. Students going into the 6th through 9th grades at Heritage Middle School in West Fargo are getting a sneak peek at their new building. Each grade has an individual technology pod where students can get hands-on learning using technology while staying safe and practicing social distancing.
Students can work on one-on-one using iPads that can be streamed, and they also have rolling TVs and flexible furniture that can be easily rearranged to meet classroom and safety standards.
We're really fortunate in the sense that when you look at our classrooms and we have our standing height tables and our regular height tables, it allows for spacing so that we're maintaining the 6 feet social distancing with our students in the classroom.
Now, students with the last names beginning with the letters L through Z will be returning to school this Thursday. Kids with the last name A through K, they'll head back to school on September 8th.
With high school football in full swing in North Dakota, it's a different case on the other side of the river. Minnesota schools have decided to hold off on football until spring. But one thing school leaders on both sides agree on: making athlete safety the #1 goal this season.
Both Moorhead and Fargo schools say spectators are required to wear a mask at indoor sports, and they also must wear one outdoors unless you're able to socially distance at 6 feet apart. They also say to limit the amount of spectators that both districts have. They say a player will get between 2 and 4 vouchers to then pass along to their family and friends. And for those who can't go to the games, officials say most of them will be live streamed.
Students are gearing up for a new school year. Tomorrow for Fargo, some West Fargo students on Thursday. But not all families are fully ready for the hybrid model. That means they do need internet or even Wi-Fi access for their kids to complete their assignments at home. But that's where the Fargo Public Library can help.
And the Valley Today's Brian Sherrod is explaining everything that you can get from the library. And remember, it's all for free. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning, Jordan and Lisa. Like you guys said, with school starting for both of those schools over the next 2 days, a Fargo Public Library card will be the perfect thing to get. And when it comes to the benefits, like you just said as well, it is the online and digital resources that they can use if they don't have Wi-Fi or anything at home. Now, I'm at 1st Avenue and 3rd Street on downtown Fargo, and I'll let you know that's just one of 3 locations that you can get your library card. So let me literally tell you how easy it is to get it. It's simple. So you just have to be over the age of 16. For people who are over the age of 16, you fill out an application form, show a photo ID, and provide proof of their current address. Now, if you're under the age of 15, it's the exact same steps we just mentioned, but a parent or guardian must sign their application form. With the COVID pandemic still a hindrance, the library encourages students to get everything completed online on their City of Fargo Public Library website. Now, like we mentioned in the very beginning, it is free. Pretty simple to sign up, like we just mentioned. These library cards do last 3 years. They do last a pretty long time. And let me let you also know, if you lose your library card, it is super simple to get it back. Have your photo ID, pay $1. It is just that simple. With school starting over the next 2 days, today is a perfect day to definitely sign up and get one.
Great advice this morning. Brian Sherrod reporting live for us from the downtown Fargo Library. Thank you.
And there's a lot that's going to be different for these kids. I mean, some of them fully online learning, others have hybrid, so a place to maybe get their homework done if you're also just itching to get out of the house, because I'm sure a lot of kids are like, I'm bored here.
For sure. I've heard that a couple times. Let's get our answer now to our question of the morning on Facebook. Here's today's question. Parents say this phrase to their kids on average about 540 times during the school year.
The answer: you probably say it actually more than that, even not during the school year. It's hurry up, we got to get going. You're burning daylight.
I love the guess. Where are your shoes? That is also something with kids. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten in the car and one of my children does not even have shoes on. How does that happen?
I don't know how children do it. They do the craziest stuff. But the Today Show in CBS This Morning, it's just about to start, but the Valley Today, it rolls on. We'll have more live up-to-the-minute news and weather coming up for you right now on the Fargo CW. Now on the Valley Today, take a look at this right here. One man is in jail accused of flipping this combine in western North Dakota. And as COVID-19 cases continue to rise in some North Dakota counties, so does the growing question of a possible face mask mandate. We'll have the latest on what the city of Grand Forks is deciding, plus a sure sign that fall is right around the corner. We all woke up to a little bit of a chillier morning out there. Lisa Green is in with what we need to know for our weather.
Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is the Valley Today on Fargo CW.
It is the first day of September. Hard to believe, and many in the Valley are having to grab that jacket or even maybe crank up the heat in your car as you head out to work this morning because those temps, they're pretty chilly. So with what we can expect as the day continues, let's head on over to our First Alert Storm Team meteorologist, Lisa Green. And Lisa, I just keep thinking of that Earth, Wind, and Fire song every time we go into September.
Yes, and we're looking at some kind of tough weather to start off the month. And by the way, it's also the first day of meteorological fall, meaning we are considering September, October, and November our fall months in the world of weather here. And oftentimes we start to see our fall conditions in September. And today, certainly feeling it. Some of us this morning up in the north and west got down into the 30s for the first time this year, or this season, I should say. So we really are feeling some cooler weather. Since then, we're starting to climb a little bit. Our temperatures are rising into the 40s and 50s. We are at 58 now in Fargo with some sunshine on the way. We do have those clouds overhead. And in Grand Forks, 49, 60 in the Jamestown area. On top of that, on top of the cooler temperatures, we're going to have to be concerned about the wind throughout the valley today. But there are several locations included in a wind advisory until 8 o'clock tonight. We're looking at gusts to 45 here. This starts at noon, so morning hours, if you want to avoid the wind, now's your chance. We're looking at wind out of the south at the moment, some of us getting into the teens. So here's a look at your garbage day forecast. If it's your garbage day, in fact, next couple of days, you're going to have to keep a close eye on your trash can there. We're looking at some conditions that are going to get pretty breezy by midday, and then continuing into that drive time hour. Even this evening, we'll have winds with some gusts into the 40s. By later tonight, it does start to scale back a little bit, but we're looking at that starting to ease up as we head into the late night hours for tonight. And again, a windy one today. That means some changes here in the forecast as we head into the rest of the week. It's going to be up and down. So we're going to talk more about that coming up here in just a few minutes.
Feeling more like fall out there. Thank you, Lisa. New for you this morning, a 45-year-old man is facing drunk driving charges after police say he totaled a combine in northwestern North Dakota, and we're now getting pictures of that crash. Now take a look at this. As you can see, the combine is completely flipped upside down. That crash happened yesterday just west of Berthold, North Dakota. Michael Carr of Seattle was busted for DUI and driving with a revoked driver's license. Combines like this one, well, they're some of the most expensive pieces of farm equipment. A new one can run you anywhere from $300,000 to $500,000. NDSU now has 27 new confirmed cases of COVID-19. 25 are students, 2 are employees. The state university system says 38 students are quarantined in university housing. Now, the university is sponsoring another testing event today. It goes from 8 a.m. to 4:30 at Rowe Farm in South Fargo. Testing, it's free. There is drive-up or walk-up lanes will all be available. 9 more Greek chapters at the University of North Dakota in Grand Forks have had at least one person test positive for COVID-19. Now, earlier this month, 6 Greek chapters at UND had at least one person positive. 15 of the 20 chapters have now had at least one person who has the virus. The university is working with the groups to help those members who are under quarantine. City council members in Grand Forks, meanwhile, are talking about a possible citywide face mask mandate. This is on top of policy already requiring city staff to wear masks in common areas and adding restrictions to bars and restaurants, forcing them to close at 11 each night. After seeing a dramatic increase of cases and having the highest active case count in the state, council members are saying more needs to be done.
It's a tough time because as policymakers, you're forced to set policy without all the information. And you know, we're not all doctors, we're not all public health experts, but we got to engage those people, and hopefully that's what will be happening over the next week.
No policies were decided last night, but conversations about potential protocols will continue on Monday, and we'll have all the latest on that right here on Valley News Live. Meanwhile, health officials are adding more times for COVID-19 testing up in Grand Forks. These are walk-up events. The first one today from 9 to 5. A second one was added this Friday from 9 to 2. Now it's open for everyone ages 5 and up. And starting on Friday, certain groups of people will be able to get a free COVID test in Fargo. Testing will be available on Fridays for those who fall in these categories. That's people with a confirmed or potential exposure to a positive case, healthcare workers providing direct care, or those who work in places where it's difficult to stay 6 feet away from people, and people who need to be tested for essential travel. The testing site, Rowe Farm, 8 to 4. For more information on that, find this story on the VNL News app. Here are the latest COVID-19 numbers from around the region. In North Dakota, 114 new cases and 1 new death. The positivity rate is now 5.49%, or 5.94% rather. There are 2,378 active cases with 143 deaths in the state. Meanwhile, in Minnesota, the Department of Health is reporting 679 confirmed cases, 1 new death linked to the virus. 67,656 people have recovered. In total, more than 1,800 people have died from the disease. A top official with the U.S. Coronavirus Task Force says people need to wear face masks when visiting friends and family. Dr. Deborah Burks is also encouraging college students to get tested and wear masks at parties.
To every student on every college campus, if you go to one of those events, you really need to protect others. Wear your mask when you're around others after that, and please try to get tested. It's really important.
She is also now urging Americans to do the right thing today in hopes of having fewer cases come fall and winter. As our students head back to school, one thing that families might not have is internet for them to complete their assignments. Now, this is where the Fargo Public Library can come in to help. The Valley Today's Brian Sherrod joins us live with all of the options that they have to help your student get the work done. Good morning, Brian.
And good morning, Jordan. You know, a Fargo Public Library card is one of those back-to-school items that you should add to your list. I remember having one when I was a little before 8 years old, and the excitement that it had when I actually got my first one without, kids or parents having Wi-Fi, which could be a possibility for some families. It's good that libraries like the one located right behind me provides digital and online resources. And speaking of the one behind me on 1st Avenue and 3rd Street here in downtown Fargo, that's just one of 3 places that you can sign up for that library card. Again, it's pretty simple. Let's go ahead and break that down for you. Anyone 16 years or older must fill out an application form, show photo ID, and provide proof of their current address. If you're under the age of 15, it's the exact same steps we just mentioned, but a parent or guardian must sign their application form. With the COVID pandemic still a hindrance, the library encourages students to get everything completed online on their City of Fargo Public Library website. Now, like we just mentioned, a library card is free, so you don't have to pay any fees to get a library card. These library cards are good for 3 years, so they last a pretty long time when it comes to that. So if you decide to get a library card now in 2020, it will last until 2023, literally that long. Now, if you happen to lose a library card, again, super duper simple to get one. Just show them your photo ID, let them know you lost it, pay a $1 fee, and literally at that moment you can get yourself another library card. So I would recommend definitely getting it, especially with 2 schools starting over the next 2 days. It's best to definitely come down today and get your library card sooner than later, because it's going to help you out in more ways than you know.
Yeah, one of those back-to-school essentials this year, and really every year. Brian Sherrod reporting live. Thank you very much this morning. Up next on the Valley today, we're getting a sneak peek at a new school that just popped up in West Fargo. A Fargo 8-year-old is using his passion to support a local animal shelter. Raiden started his business a little over a year ago, painting and making other creations like bath bombs and lip balms. But instead of pocketing the proceeds, he raised $350 and then handed it over to Homeward Animal Shelter. That's where the family adopted their cat, and they wanted to show their support for the facility. If you would like to see Raiden's creations, click on this story on the VNL News app. Students going into the 6th through 9th grades at Heritage Middle School in West Fargo, they're getting a sneak peek of their new building. Each grade has an individual technology pod where students can get hands-on learning using technology while staying safe and practicing that social distancing. Students can work on one-on-one using the iPads that can be streamed to rolling TVs, along with flexible furniture that can be easily rearranged to meet classroom and safety standards.
We're really fortunate in the sense that when you look at our classrooms and we have our standing height tables and our regular height tables, it allows for spacing so that we're maintaining the 6 feet social distancing with our students in the classroom.
Students with the last names starting with the letters L through Z will be returning to school on Thursday. Kids with last names A through K head back on September 8th. It's no doubt that high school sports, they'll look a bit different this year. We'll tell you what you can expect coming up on the Valley today. But first, Lisa Green is in with a forecast that feels much more like it's football season out there.
Good morning. Today we've had a gorgeous sunrise. So I'm showing a time lapse of around 5:30 this morning and beyond. Watch what happens. We just light up suddenly with that burst of color reflected by the clouds. And then unfortunately, that cloud deck now blocking our view of the sun, but it was beautiful to start off today. And some of us had some clear skies this morning, and that allowed our temperatures to dip a little bit more than other spots. And it was definitely and is definitely cooler north. We're now at 48 in Langdon. That's a big improvement over the upper 30s we started out with there. And in Grand Forks, 49, it's 44 in Badette. That's our cool spot right now. It's 58 in Fargo, and a couple of us at 60 degrees. Jamestown and Sisseton, both at that number. So today is going to be a windy day. It's going to help to warm us up, but you're going to need the hairspray, or maybe don't even bother. It's just going to whip your hair around anyway. We're looking at wind out of the south into the teens. Here's a look at that advisory that takes effect at noon and will last until 8 o'clock tonight. So that gives you an idea of when those strongest winds will be. And we're looking at some gusts to 45 miles per hour in the advisory. Other places it'll be windy too, but maybe not quite as strong as that. A look at your radar and satellite map, nice and quiet. We're looking at some areas where we are a little more cloudy, other spots where we're a little more clear. So taking a look at that hour by hour planner through the noon hour, we're watching those winds really start to increase. And again, afternoon and evening will be the focus for the strongest winds. And in addition, that chance for some rain and thunder moves into the northern valley for later tonight. So it's going to be a windy one. And if you're up north, you're going to need to be watching out for some rain and thunder into the second half of your day, especially into this evening. We're going to get into more details on that coming up. But also, it's an up and down roller coaster type forecast as we're transitioning into September. We're seeing some conditions that are going to be quite tough here. So we're going to talk about that in just a moment. But you can see that area of rain and thunder continuing to move through. And in addition, that will likely stay north and east for us here in the valley. So that's an area where we're concerned more for that chance for some rain. If you're in the south and west, it's just the wind that's going to be your problem for today. Heading into the nighttime hours for tonight, overnight, the wind does ease up somewhat, but it will still be breezy. That'll keep our temperatures from bottoming out as much as they did this morning. So your storm risk. Right now, no risk for severe weather. That lighter green shaded area on the map is associated with the key there that says general. That means general thunderstorms, so not severe. But I just wanted to show you where that would be most likely that we would see that rain and thunder today. Here's a look at tomorrow. We keep the breezy weather around, maybe not as windy, but we'll see those winds pick up as another system continues to sweep through. This one, once again, bringing more rain to the north, but those of us in the south also have a chance for some rain and thunder. And after that, we're warming through that point in time. Thursday, we're cold again, back into the 60s. We try to climb into the holiday weekend and then back into Labor Day. Boy, it's going to be cool. 60s for highs starting in a lot of places in the 30s. We'll have to watch out for a frost on that day.
All right. Haven't heard that word in a while. Thank you, Lisa. Now, here is a scary thought. Someone you don't know walking through your house when you're home. Take a look at this picture. That's what happened in Grand Forks last week. The warning coming from Grand Forks PD is next on the Valley Today. A body found in Arvilla, North Dakota last Friday has now been identified as Erin Paterka, who was reported missing. An autopsy is being conducted to determine her cause of death. Now, Paterka's death is under investigation, and anyone with information is urged to call the Grand Forks County Sheriff's Office. Police are investigating 3 instances of someone going into a Grand Forks home when people were inside. Officers say it happened at a home in the 2500 block of 9th Avenue North 3 times between August 23rd and the 30th. Each time the man came to the home between 4 and 4:30 in the morning and then walked around for several minutes but didn't take anything. Now, after the first incident, the people who lived there installed surveillance cameras to try and capture images of the suspect. They got this picture. That suspect is a white guy in his 20s, somewhere around 5'9" to 6 feet tall, with a slim build and dark hair. If you know anything about him, you need to call the Grand Forks Police. Now, here's the latest on that stabbing in Grand Forks we first told you about yesterday on the Valley Today. Police say the victim is 46-year-old Ram Monger. Now, he died of his injuries yesterday. 44-year-old Shavadid Gali is in custody facing murder charges. Police say the 2 men knew each other. Just before 10 Sunday night, officers were called to an apartment on the south side of town and found Monger with a stab wound to his stomach. Don't forget that the FM Area Code Red Emergency Alert System is being discontinued today. It's being replaced with KVLY alerts. Now, if you want to get emergency notifications, you'll have to sign up at kvlyalerts.gov, or you can also call the number 211. With high school football in full swing in North Dakota, across the river in Minnesota, schools have decided to hold off until the spring. But one thing that school leaders on both sides agree on is making athlete safety the #1 goal this season.
If we can have a few fans there, we'll certainly try to accommodate that, but that would be the first thing to go if we need to make some changes.
Well, both Moorhead and Fargo schools say that spectators are required to wear that mask indoors, and outdoors they also need to wear it unless they can stay 6 feet apart. They also say to limit the amount of spectators. Both districts say that each player will get between 2 and 4 vouchers to then give to family or friends. And for those who can't go to the games, officials say most of them will be live streamed. North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum is advocating for increased COVID-19 testing, especially among younger people who tend to be asymptomatic. Recent reports say the younger demographic is now driving the pandemic, yet the CDC has decided to no longer recommend a COVID-19 test to those without symptoms. That has many state leaders worried. The CDC softened language around testing guidelines, and it comes as North Dakota cases are going up. In just over a week from August 23rd to today, positive COVID-19 cases for the 20 to 29-year-old age group have nearly doubled, from 493 to 833 active cases statewide.
We haven't changed any of our recommendations here in North Dakota, and we're unlikely to, because we believe our recommendations make sound public health sense.
Governor Burgum agrees and says that he'll continue testing efforts, especially as the cases increase in Grand Forks County and the classes start. Minnesota health officials are warning against social gatherings ahead of the Labor Day weekend as cases accelerate really around the nation. Infectious disease director Chris Erzman says there is good compliance with masks and social distancing in retail settings, but informal gatherings can contribute to significant community spread. The city of Grand Forks is talking about a possible mask mandate. When you can expect the final decision, that's coming up on the Valley Today. Plus, September 1st, feeling like a fall day out there. Lisa Green breaks down the forecast. It's 7:26. Welcome back to the Valley Today. The discussion is happening in Grand Forks about a possible citywide face mask mandate. After seeing a dramatic increase of cases and having the highest active case count in the state, council members are saying more needs to be done. No policies were decided on last night, however, but conversations about potential protocols will continue on Monday when a decision will be made. And we'll be sure to update you on that story right here on the Valley Today. Meanwhile, 9 more Greek chapters at UND in Grand Forks have had at least one member test positive for COVID-19. Earlier this month, 6 Greek chapters at UND had one person test positive. Now 15 of the 20 chapters have had at least one person with the virus. The university is working with groups to help those members who are now under quarantine. Let's get a check of our September 1st forecast with meteorologist Lisa Green.
Well, our weather is following that change of calendar. We've got some wind increasing, some cool temperatures for the start of our day today, and a wind advisory that takes effect at noon this afternoon. We're looking at winds up to 45 miles per hour. So get ready for that. Be ready for that strong wind here once we head into the second half of the day. And many of us included in that advisory, including Fargo, Grand Forks, and into the Devil's Lake and Jamestown areas. The wind not too strong right now. We're seeing winds out of the south up to 15 miles per hour. That will quickly increase here, though. And temperatures 40s up north. Some of us dipped into the 30s overnight last night. We're making a little recovery here this morning. But we're looking at some conditions that are a little more cloudy in Fargo to start. We'll eventually see temperatures rise into the 70s. Northern Valley will have a chance for rain.
All right. Thank you, Lisa. We'll have more local news and weather right after this on the Fargo CW. You finally pay off that credit card and it feels good, but are you actually hurting your credit score? Now, that's a question that financial experts, they get asked it a lot. And we have some answers that may surprise you in this Investigate TV Watching Your Wallet.
I'm always telling you to pay down those credit cards first so you don't have to pay interest on your purchases. But if you want to raise your credit score, there's a catch. As it turns out, your better option is using 1% of your credit limit as opposed to 0, according to our partners at the financial website NerdWallet. The two biggest factors that make up about 2/3 of your credit score are paying on time and the amount you owe. That credit utilization is one of the easiest and quickest ways to boost your score. Card issuers report your new balances to the credit bureaus each month, immediately changing your utilization. If you can't get it down to 1%, then shoot for 10%. And just so you know, the top 25% of FICO credit scores use about 7% of their credit limits. How else can you boost your credit score? Well, go to annualcreditreport.com and check for errors. Mistakes are common and can have a drastic effect on your score. Don't close credit card accounts, and if you apply for any new card, make sure it's been at least 6 months since your last credit application. With this Investigate TV Watching Your Wallet, I'm Rachel DePompa.
A new internet challenge is putting teens' health at risk. Lake Region Healthcare in Fergus Falls says the Benadryl challenge is just what it sounds like. A challenge urging people to take a dangerous amount of Benadryl so they can get high and potentially hallucinate. The challenge is circulating on social media, specifically TikTok. Healthcare workers say Benadryl can cause hallucinations, but at higher doses, the concern is seizures, an irregular heartbeat, and even death. At a North California supermarket last week, one visitor likely had only one thing in mind: the bare necessities. That store in Lake Tahoe was pretty much routine until that guy right there walked up into the store and rummaged through the produce aisle. The bear apparently visited that store a few weeks ago, and he ended up settling on a bag of tortilla chips. He just wanted a little snack. But it is now 7:32 on our Tuesday morning. Let's get a check of our forecast, and if it was a snack, it's one that I don't think a lot of people would want to eat, Lisa.
No, and I love how the bear was in the produce aisle and somehow found the chips amongst all the fruit and vegetables. And yeah, we do have kind of a tougher day ahead of us today. So we're looking at some conditions that are going to get more and more windy as we advance through the day here. So if you are a remote learner, I know we're going back to school here in a lot of our school systems. We are going to have some better weather this morning for taking a break from your studies. Here's a look at that. As we head through the morning and into the afternoon, we'll see conditions get not so nice. That's why I've got it highlighted in yellow for that 1 o'clock period and beyond, because we'll see those winds really get strong and it just won't be so pleasant to be out in the backyard. Not necessarily raining or anything like that, but better weather here this morning. We do warm up into the 70s though today throughout much of the valley. So here's a look at our temperatures right now. It is a little cool for that morning walk. We're in the 40s up north. In the southern valley, we're into the 50s, 58 degrees in Fargo, 49 in Grand Forks. And we're seeing some clouds overhead in a lot of places, but we will get some sun mixed in there too today, and we'll end up with a partly cloudy sky. Wind speeds are going to be out of the south initially. We'll start to see them more southwest as we head into the later morning, and we'll watch those pick up, currently in the teens. So that wind advisory, it takes effect at noon today and lasts until 8 o'clock tonight. So that's the time where we're looking at some of our strongest winds happening, though it will already be breezy here as we advance through the morning hours. And then that breeze will kind of hang around too into the nighttime hours. But those gusts getting into the 40s, that's when we'll see that into the afternoon and evening. So be ready for that, and an up and down forecast in the extended planner. All that coming up in just a bit.
All right. Thank you very much, Lisa. North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum is asking for a presidential major disaster declaration for a severe summer storm that caused flash flooding in several counties. It resulted in more than $5 million in damage to roads and other infrastructure. Now he's requesting the aid for 6 counties. Those include Grand Forks, Benson, Wells, Nelson, McKenzie, and Montreal. The June 29th through July 1st storm destroyed roads and damaged homes with high winds and hail and 4 to 8 inches of rain. The governor says many of the counties were pummeled by previous disasters that produced catastrophic flooding during the past 2 years. Crews have now recovered the body of a 6-year-old from the Mississippi River in downtown Minneapolis, ending a search that started on Saturday. The sheriff's office says the boy's body was found near the Hennepin Avenue Bridge, about a half mile from where he went under. 2 adults were supervising a group of kids at a park when some of the kids decided to go wading. 2 were rescued, but the 6-year-old went under. It was another night of protest in Portland, Oregon last night. A group of a few hundred people marched to Portland's mayor, Ted Wheeler's apartment. A social media post said the group was calling on the mayor to resign. It was the 95th consecutive night of protest in the Rose City since the killing of George Floyd 13 weeks ago. Police declared the gathering a riot after protesters broke windows, shot off fireworks, and lit a fire in the street. 29 people were arrested on Sunday after a group of people started throwing rocks, eggs, and other items at police officers. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump plans to visit Kenosha, Wisconsin today against the wishes of Democratic leaders there. The city has erupted in protest and violence after a police officer shot a black man in the back and a white teenager killed 2 demonstrators. Tracy Potts gives us a look ahead of the presidential visit.
Hours before traveling to Kenosha, Wisconsin today, President Trump on Fox overnight comparing police shootings to golf.
but they choke. Just like in a golf tournament, they miss a 3-foot.
You're not comparing it to golf because, of course, that's what the media.
I'm saying people choke.
People panic.
Choke.
The president's expected to survey riot damage and meet with police after appearing to defend 17-year-old Kyle Rittenhouse, facing murder charges after killing 2 people in the chaos.
He was trying to get away from them, I guess, it looks like, and he fell, and then they very violently attacked him.
The violence we're seeing in Donald Trump's America.
Vice presidential nominee Joe Biden blaming the president.
And he's rooting for chaos and violence.
And promising to prosecute looters.
Rioting is not protesting. Looting is not protesting. Setting fires is not protesting. None of this is protesting. It's lawlessness, plain and simple.
Today's visit against the advice of local leaders.
I felt that the timing was wrong.
This is not about politics. This is about my son.
The president is not expected to meet the family of Jacob Blake, whose police shooting sparked the protests. He says he declined a phone call because the family wanted their lawyer on the line. Tracy Potts, NBC News.
The president addressed sending in the National Guard, but local officials say the state has already called them in. Walmart shoppers, listen up. That store is launching a new membership program. What you can expect on the nationwide launch, that's coming up on the Valley Today.
A glimpse at what the spring could look like for the FCS. There's a report that the Football Championship Committee has recommended the FCS reduce the spring playoff field from 24 to 16 with 10 automatic bids and 6 at-large selections. It's recommended the playoffs happen between April 18th through May 15th, meaning an 8-week regular season would need to start late February. The Football Oversight Committee will consider the recommendation Thursday when they're scheduled to meet again. The Fargo-Moorhead Redhawks are clinging to playoff hopes as they enter the final 2 weeks of the American Association season. It's not hard to see why the Redhawks are in the playoff conversation. 7 straight wins have propelled Fargo-Moorhead to within a couple games of the second playoff spot. Interim manager Chris Coe says they're aware of what the standings look like, but knowing how many games they need to make up is not the message he's sending to his club.
We've put ourselves in a position to win today. That's the situation we put ourselves in after the first how many games. So we can't even look ahead. Our theme has been today's game, got to win today.
The Redhawks can make up some ground on Sioux Falls. The Canaries are in Fargo for 3 games starting Tuesday. The Hawks are 3.5 behind Sioux Falls with 9 games remaining. And the Redhawks were led in Sunday's 6-2 win over Winnipeg by pitcher Matt Tomshaw. He was recognized for his efforts with Pitcher of the Week honors. Tomshaw pitched his 3rd complete game of the 2020 season with the win. He gave up 2 runs and 5 hits and is the only pitcher in the American Association with multiple complete games this season. and is currently ranked 3rd in wins and earned run average. Again, the Redhawks back in action tonight when they open up their 3-game series hosting Sioux Falls. That's all the time we have for sports this morning, but join us every evening on Valley News Live at 6 and 10 for all your local sports and highlights.
With high school football in full swing in North Dakota, across the river in Minnesota, schools have decided to hold off until spring. But one thing that school leaders on both sides agree on is making athlete safety the #1 goal this season. Both Moorhead and Fargo schools say that spectators are required to wear a face mask at indoor sports, and they say that masks must be worn outdoors as well unless you're able to maintain 6 feet distance. They also say to limit the amount of spectators, and both districts say that each player will get between 2 to 4 vouchers to then pass along to family and friends. And for those who can't go to the game, most of them will be live streamed. In our consumer alert this morning, the countdown is on for Walmart's new membership program. The retail giant's new program called Walmart Plus will launch nationwide on September 15th. Those benefits include unlimited free delivery on orders of at least $35. Members will also be able to use the app to scan products as they shop, pay with their phone, and skip the checkout line. They'll also get 5 cents a gallon off at nearly 2,000 Walmart, Murphy USA, and Murphy Express gas stations. Sam's Club gas stations will soon be included as well. Walmart Plus will cost $98 a year. That comes out to $12.95 a month. Capital One is cutting borrowing limits on some credit cards. According to Bloomberg News, Capital One's customers took to social media to complain after receiving emails informing them their ability to borrow is being slashed. Some were told their limits are being cut to align with past spending patterns. The company is now saying how many accounts are the company is not saying how many accounts are impacted, rather. Capital One is the 3rd largest U.S. credit card lender. Coming up here on the Valley today, lots of damage in Japan as a powerful typhoon ripped through today. In our weather here, calmer, but still it will get pretty windy. Lisa Green has a check of the forecast right after this.
Good morning. We are looking at conditions that are kind of gloomy looking out there this morning after what was a spectacular sunrise. We're seeing the cloud cover overhead. There is a little of that sunlight, that morning light trying to get through, but overall it is looking a bit gray here to start off our Tuesday, and it's a little cool too as well, so we definitely want to be ready for a cooler morning with that jacket here as we continue on in the forecast. So looking at some gray skies, at least initially here to start off our day. So again, conditions are going to be a little cooler. We're also looking at some potential for some rain later on, but definitely talking about the wind being the biggest factor for us as we continue on. So let's first of all talk about those temperatures. We are into the 40s 40s up north, and some of us approaching 60 in the south. Fargo's at 58 degrees. It's 60 in Sisseton and in Jamestown. The Northern Valley, definitely the cooler spot. And I mentioned those clouds. We're definitely experiencing those here this morning. They are most likely going to hang around for a little while longer before we start to clear out and get a little more sunshine as we continue on. So that wind, it's not too much of a problem right now. In fact, wind speeds are less than 15 miles per hour, so not an issue at all. Wind out of the south or southwest. But as we continue on into the morning, that will pick up. And starting at noon, we have a wind advisory for a lot of places in eastern North Dakota. And then west from there, we could see winds gusting to 45 miles per hour. And this will be in effect until 8 o'clock this evening. So let's look at our hour-by-hour planner. The wind starting to pick up by mid to late morning, and we'll see those temperatures on the rise thanks to that southerly direction. It's warmer air that's rushing in, and that wind will be an issue lunch hour and beyond. We're looking at some wind speeds into the 30s, gusts getting up into the 40s at times, especially in the eastern part of North Dakota, but it'll be breezy everywhere. And we'll see more sunshine too heading into the afternoon. Now, this evening, you could see that by 5 o'clock, we've got more clouds up north and more chances for rain and thunder. Temperatures ranging anywhere from near 70 along the international border to some upper 70s in the south. So if you're in the Southern Valley, you'll probably have sunshine through the evening hours, maybe some clouds dipping in as this front moves through, but the greater threat for rain and some thunderstorms will be up north. This is 8 o'clock. The rain sweeps through, moves on. We're looking at some quieter weather overnight, though the breeze sticks around, not quite as strong as we'll deal with during the daytime hours for today. So storm risk, that'll be up in the north and northeast specifically. Not a severe risk. You can see we're in the lighter green, which means general thunderstorms, not necessarily seeing some of those stronger storms. So that's something to be thankful for. Now I'm moving into Wednesday. We're going to zip through this. By Wednesday noon, we're going to see another round. It's basically a repeat of today. The difference being that we'll see some wind, but maybe not as intense. And the chances for rain will expand a little farther south into tomorrow evening and night. Once that clears, we're looking at some cool weather. 60s for high Thursday. We try to climb out of it heading into the holiday weekend. Saturday will be our warmer day of the weekend. And then a reinforcing shot of cool air takes over. And we're talking the potential for frost maybe on Labor Day morning. So some ups and downs here as we head into September.
Big changes. All right. Thank you, Lisa. A powerful typhoon blew over Japan's southernmost islands earlier today, on course for Japan's main southern island and later the Korean peninsula. Warnings issued for the area around Okinawa. That's home to a U.S. military base. The Japanese Meteorological Agency said Typhoon Maysak was expected to make landfall later on Japan's main southern island, bringing strong winds and rain, and then hit South Korea by Thursday. North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum is reviewing a second batch of applicants seeking pardons for low-level marijuana crimes. A policy adopted last year allows the governor to erase records of people who have avoided unlawful behavior for 5 years. Burgum approved only 16 of the 26 applications in the first wave before refusing to endorse some because of more serious offenses on their record. New this morning, North Dakota State University announced just minutes ago that they will be taking advantage of the space they have on campus this fall by moving their concert choir rehearsals outside. All members will have to wear a face mask, though, and maintain a 6-foot distance from other students, and they'll have to cover their coughs and sneezes. Families in the valley are expressing concerns about COVID-19 cases spiking in North Dakota. College students were the first set of students to make their way back to the classroom, and since then, numbers, they just go up. Some parents fear the same thing is going to happen in secondary schools, which is why some Fargo and West Fargo families are turning to virtual learning for the upcoming school year. Other busy parents tell us that they're trying to keep their kids in person as long as they can.
I would much rather try and do everything we possibly can until it's at the point of like, okay, now we need to really like stay home and not worry about it. And we did for quite a bit of time at the beginning.
Fargo and West Fargo public schools both say they have had more students enroll in their virtual programs. Each district has had more than 1,000 students signing up to participate in online learning so far. In our Healthier Me this morning, AstraZeneca has started phase 3 clinical testing of its coronavirus vaccine candidate in the U.S. The British drug maker says the trial will enroll up to 30,000 adults at 80 sites across the country. 2/3 of the study participants will receive 2 doses of the experimental vaccine, given 4 weeks apart. The rest will receive a placebo. The company says results are expected a little later this year. The World Health Organization says an emergency authorization of COVID-19 vaccines must be based on high scientific and ethical standards. Meanwhile, the head of the U.S. Food and Drug Administration reportedly has said that he might fast-track a coronavirus vaccine before those clinical trials are over. Russia has already licensed a COVID-19 vaccine for use inside Russia before the final phase 3 tests were even complete. Many experts have expressed skepticism about that, though, without any large data to point to a pivotal trial.
Each country has a sovereign right to define its policy for vaccination or any other therapeutic intervention in its population, but it must be guided by the highest possible ethical standards, the highest possible scientific standards, and where countries do move forward with any form of emergency use authorization.
Vaccines are seen as essential to ending this pandemic, and that has claimed more than 840,000 lives worldwide. A recent study found a small increased risk for autism in the children of women who got the flu shot during their first trimester, but new research suggests that might not be true. Swedish scientists looked at data from nearly 40,000 children whose mothers got the flu vaccine during pregnancy and 30,000 who were unexposed. By the age of 7, the percentage of autism cases were virtually the same for both groups. The CDC recommends that all women who are pregnant during flu season get the flu shot, regardless of their trimester. New for you this morning, a 45-year-old man is now facing drunk driving charges after police say he totaled a combine in northwestern North Dakota. And we're now getting pictures of that crash. Take a look right here. As you can see, the combine is completely flipped upside down. That crash happened yesterday just west of Berthold, North Dakota. Michael Carr of Seattle was busted for DUI and driving with a revoked driver's license. Combines are one of the most expensive pieces of farm equipment. A new one can cost anywhere from $300,000 to $500,000. Minnesota health officials are warning against social gatherings ahead of the Labor Day weekend as case growth accelerates statewide. Infectious disease director Chris Erzman says there is good compliance with masks and social distancing in retail settings, but informal gatherings are contributing to significant community spread. Surveillance cameras in downtown Fargo could be going away. The reasons why are coming up here on the Valley today. Plus, Lisa Green is in with just how cool we are this morning and how long we can expect those cool temperatures to stick around. It's 7:56. Welcome back to the Valley today. A lot of people probably don't even notice them, but there are 8 surveillance cameras watching what's going on in downtown Fargo, and City Commissioner Tony Gehrig wants to get rid of them. The 8 high-resolution cameras are attached to posts along Broadway, and they have been in place for 8 years. Gehrig believes those cameras invade your privacy, and he says he'll talk to the new police chief about removing them. Interim Police Chief Ross Renner says the cameras have been useful in solving crimes. President Donald Trump will visit Kenosha, Wisconsin today. That city has been at the forefront of unrest following the police shooting of Jacob Blake over a week ago. Several protests, rallies, and other events have taken place in Kenosha since then. The White House says the president will be visiting with law enforcement and surveying the damage. There are no plans for him to meet with Blake's family. Lisa Green will have a check of your September 1st forecast right after this quick break.
So today we started off with a gorgeous sunrise. I want to show you our time lapse today. It was just beautiful. We had that vibrant shot of color, and now the sun, well, it's disappeared behind the clouds here this morning. We're stuck with some mostly cloudy skies at the moment. I do think we'll have some opportunities at seeing some sun today as we continue on through the day. Temperatures into the 70s for your highs for most of the valley, but the wind is going to be a big problem here for us. So first this morning, still in the 40s in a couple of spots, but we're working on warming up. It's 58 in Fargo, 53 in Grand Forks. You can see the clouds overhead. And as we look at our winds, not too bad right now, but look at Devil's Lake. We're at 25 miles per hour now, starting to see some hints at some wind picking up out west. And that's right where we've got our wind advisory that takes effect at noon today, lasting through the 8 o'clock hour. So some areas where we're looking at gusts to 45 today.
All right. Thank you very much, Lisa. And thank you for joining us here on the Valley today. We'll have more news and weather updates for you throughout the morning.